Okay, we are back, algebra, and we are in section 8.4. And this section is all about shortcuts, all special products and shortcuts here. So if you, in the end, if you want to just use FOIL the same way you've always done it, go right ahead. You'll never screw it up. But there are a couple shortcuts that if you can see and point them out, then you're in good shape here. Okay, so that's what this one's all about. Again, so you don't necessarily have to use them if you don't feel comfortable using them. Just use FOIL on the distributed property the way you always have. But there's a couple things that always work out, and that's why we have them in here. So the square of a sum. So first of all, what is that going to look like? Square of a sum is going to be something where it's like, say, x plus y squared. It's the same quantities. There might be numbers in there as well, but squared. And the shortcut basically says that the square of a plus b is the square of a plus twice the product of a and b plus the square of b. So it's saying a lot of stuff. So all that's saying is right over here in these symbols, the square of a plus, so the square of a plus twice the product of a and b plus the square of b. Okay, so that's all that's saying when you FOIL it, and that came from a plus b squared. Okay, so that's written over here in your symbols as well. So if you think about it, the only thing I'm going to tell you is, just the rule right here. You got a plus b squared. I'm going to tell you to write it out twice. But basically what you're doing, if you were FOILing, you'd have a times a, which gives you the a squared. Then in the middle, you'd have your outside terms, a times b. That would give you 1ab, and then your inside terms are going to be 1ab as well, so that's where it's going to take place of the 2ab. And then your last terms, of course, are b times b, which is going to give you your b squared. Okay? So I know it's a lot of stuff, but just something to think about. Let's do an example real quick just to show you what it would look like, and it would be x plus 5 squared. So my only rule I'm going to tell you is to write it out twice, the square. Because that's going to help you, whether you use the shortcut or whether you use FOIL, it's going to help you either way. So we're going to make sure we write this part out twice. X plus 5 squared, what's that saying? It's saying x plus 5 times the quantity x plus 5. Now when we FOIL it, it becomes a lot easier, even if you're going to use the shortcut. So our shortcut would say it's going to be x squared, and then 2 times the middle term, so 5x and 5x is going to give us 10x, and then 5 times 5 is 25, which is 5 squared. But I'm going to go ahead and FOIL it, just because I know that's going to work out. So my first term is going to be x squared. Then my outside term is going to be 5x. My inside term is going to be 5x. And then my last terms are going to be 25. And so that's where that twice the middle term comes in here, this 2ab, because you're going to get the same term here and here. So when you combine them, you get a 10x plus 25. If some of you guys notice the pattern and say, oh, I can go 5x, I just have to double 5x and give me 10x, well then sure, you can go for it and get it there. The next one is a square of a difference. So what is a square of a difference going to look like? That's where it's going to be difference means subtraction, so it's going to be x minus y squared. X minus y squared. And so again, in words, it's just telling us the square of a minus b, that's this right over here, the square of a minus b is going to be equal to a squared minus twice the product. So it's very similar, it's just a minus sign instead of a plus sign here, plus b squared, which is right here. Okay? And again, I'm going to ask you to write this stuff out twice when you see one of these, just so that you don't make any silly mistakes. Write out the square quantities twice. So our example, again, using, let's go with y this time, y minus 4 squared. Okay, so we want to write that out twice. That's our rule we want to do, because this square says it's going to be this quantity, y minus, this square right here tells us it's going to be this quantity, y minus 4, times itself again, y minus 4 times y minus 4. That way, if you want to jump right to the shortcut, you can, you know it's going to be very similar to the first one. It's going to be a minus sign in the middle instead of a plus. But we can always FOIL it. We can always FOIL it. So y times y is y squared. And then we've got the outside terms, y times negative 4 is negative 4y. The inside terms, negative 4y. And then the last terms, negative 4 times negative 4, gives us a positive 16. So again, now when we combine these things, we've got a negative 4 and a negative 4. So it's negative 8y plus 16. So you can kind of see that one. Again, you're doubling the negative 4y, but it's a minus sign here. So minus 2 times the inside and outside terms. So you don't have to use the shortcuts. You can always FOIL it. You're going to get the same results. But if you notice the pattern, then go for it. And the last one here is a product of a sum and a difference. Product of a sum and a difference. And I like this one. This was the one that I would actually use more often because this one really shortens the steps here. So what is this going to look like? It's going to be x plus something and then x minus that same something. So x plus y, x minus y. And our rule here says the product of a plus b and a minus b is the square of a minus the square of b. So what happens there is the middle terms are actually going to cancel out. All right, so notice in your answers here, you only have two things. You've got an a squared and a b squared, and you're going to subtract them. It's just going to be, because you're going to have a positive and negative here, so it's going to be a minus sign there. But the middle terms are going to cancel right out, so it might be easier to see if you do an example. So if we use, say, x minus 2 times x plus 2, if we do that, you'll notice when we FOIL this, that, and notice again, we've got the x minus something times the x plus something. We've got different signs in here. So again, it helps to write it out twice because now we know it's different than the examples above. So now when we FOIL this, we go ahead and go x times x gives us x squared. And what you're going to see is with the outside terms, you get a positive 2x, and the inside terms, you get a negative 2x. So those are going to cancel, as you see. And then the last terms here, negative 4 plus 4, or excuse me, negative 4 times, sorry, negative 2 times a positive 2 gives us a negative 4. So now you can see that right here, this negative 2 and positive 2, these are going to cancel each other out to make 0. So your final answer then is going to be x squared minus 4, which would fit this rule here. Okay, this one is kind of nice because when you see this, you can almost just jump to squaring the first terms here, x squared, and then just multiplying these two terms here, and that's your answer. So this one is a kind of nice shortcut because the middle terms you know are going to cancel out. All right, so let's do a couple practice problems. Number 2 here. We've got 5x plus 9y squared. So again, it's the square here. So we're going to write this out twice. 5x plus 9y times 5x plus 9y in parentheses. So now when we FOIL this, we can go ahead and say 5x times 5x is going to be 25x squared. Or you get your 5 times 5. You also have your x times x, so it's x squared. 5x times 9y is going to give us a plus 45xy. Okay, because now we have multiple variables going. We've got an x times a y, so it'll be plus 45xy. The inside term we know is going to be the same. Okay, this I will tell you it's always going to be the same here, plus 45xy. And then the last term here, 9 times 9 gives us an 81. And then y times y gives us a y squared. So now when we combine, we're looking at saying, all right, we basically know we're going to combine these two in the middle, 45xy and a 45xy to give us 90xy. And then the other two terms just kind of drop down, 25x squared and 81y squared. And that would be our answer there. Okay? You see the two middle terms end up being the same because of the shortcut. And if you can jump right to the next step, go for it. All right, let's work on 3 because we have a difference of squares now. So we're going to write this out twice. 3c minus 4 times the quantity of 3c minus 4. That's what that square is saying here. Okay? And people get confused by that a lot, and they try not to do it. So as we FOIL this one, we got a difference of squares. So you're going to have a double the middle terms, but it's going to be a negative. FOILing never fails us. So 3 times 3 is 9. C times C is C squared. So 3c times 3c is 9c squared. In the outside term, negative 4 times 3 is negative 12c. Inside terms, also going to be negative 12c. Okay, those are always going to be the same in a sum of squares or a difference of squares. And then we've got negative 4 times negative 4 gives us a positive 16. So all we have left to do is to combine here in the middle. Negative 12c and negative 12c is going to make a negative 24c. Remember, so you're doubling it. That's the part of the shortcut. And then 9c squared and plus 16 come on down. So you can FOIL it. You can jump from here to from this step right down to here if you understand the shortcut. If not, FOIL it and combine like terms because it never will fail you as long as you multiply correctly. All right, let's try number 5 here because we've got a difference of, well, we've got a negative and positive. What's that called? A product of a sum and a difference. So we've got a product and a sum and a difference here. So we work at this one. This one's the one that I actually do like because when we FOIL it, we go 9d times 9d. 9 times 9 is 81. D times d is d squared. Then we go 9d times 4 is going to be a plus 36d. Negative 4 times 9d is a minus 36d. And then our last terms here, negative 4 and positive 4, give us negative 16. And so what's that do in the middle? This is the one that I like because you get a positive 36d and negative 36d. We know those are going to cancel right out. So we can jump right down to 81d squared minus 16. And this is that shortcut that I like because you could actually just square this, 9d squared, 81d squared, and then just multiply your last term. Basically, you just multiply your first terms and your last terms on this one, and you'd have the answer. All right, let's do one more. Let's do number 8 over here. Again, we have a sum of squares. So we've got this square here, so we're going to write this out twice to give us 4x squared plus 2, the quantity, times the quantity of 4x squared plus 2. Again, writing it out twice just tells us that it's 2 binomials that we can multiply. So now, FOILing, I get 4 times 4 is 16. X squared times x squared, remember you got to add those exponents, it's going to be x to the 4th. It's a tricky one there. That's why I wanted to do this example. The outside terms, 4x squared plus times 2 would be plus 8x squared. The inside terms, again, I told you it's going to be the same, 8x squared. Those are going to be the same in this section. And then the last terms, 2 times 2 is a positive 4. So now I have to combine my ones in the middle. Remember, this is the shortcut is to double that to give you a 16x squared in the middle. And then your 16x to the 4th stays here, and your plus 4 comes down as well. And there is your answer. So those are your shortcuts. And again, you don't have to use them. You can always just FOIL. That brings us to the lesson summary here. What's easier, using the shortcut or multiplying and combining like terms? What do you think? Some people might like the shortcuts. Some people might just like to do the old-fashioned way. It doesn't take, it's not like it's cutting off that much time. And then your practice problem here, 3x minus 1 times 3x plus 1. Okay? So that is section 8.4. And this is the last section before we test. We're going to do like a mid-chapter test because chapter 8 is so long. So this is the last one. All right. That's it. Bring your questions, and we will talk to you then.